Dear students, welcome to this digital lecture series. Today we are going to see a very important topic in relativity, and it is the Michelson-Morley experiment. It was one of the most famous failed experiment, but it gave a very important result in physics, which we are going to see later on. And for this experiment, Michelson and Morley were also awarded a Nobel Prize somewhere in 1905 or 6. Now, what was the aim of this experiment? It was performed with the aim to detect the presence of luminiferous ether through which the light was supposed to travel. Now, in earlier days, around that period, scientists discovered that sound waves require a certain medium to travel, and hence they started believing that light should also require a certain medium to travel. And they proposed that or believed that the whole universe or the atmosphere is occupied by a certain transparent medium called luminiferous ether. Luminiferous means light bearing. And to prove the existence of this ether, this experiment was performed, and they were going to find out the relative drift velocity between the earth and the ether. Now we all know that the earth moves with a velocity of 30 km per second around the sun. This is orbital velocity of earth. Now if the ether exists and it is at rest, if the ether exists and it is at rest, and there exists a relative velocity between earth and the ether, then the ether should also move in the opposite direction with the same velocity, or magnitude of velocity will be same. Now, why has this concept come into play? Because the word relative means something is related. If I am finding the relative velocity between the earth and the ether, then if earth moves with a velocity 30 km per second in one direction, ether will move with the same magnitude velocity but in opposite direction. So this is the simple Michelson-Morley experiment setup. You will be more clear from this slide. The experimental setup consists of a source of monochromatic light, two glass plates A and B, two reflecting mirrors M1 and M2, and a telescope to observe the interference fringes that will be produced in this experiment. So the glass plate A is partially silvered, not completely but partially silvered, and it is placed at an angle of 45 degrees with respect to vertical. This is the vertical direction, this is the glass plate, this is the angle 45 degrees between them. The two mirrors M1 and M2 are placed mutually perpendicular to each other such that the mirrors are equidistant from the glass plate A. So these two mirrors M1 and M2, they are at a distance D, same distance D from the glass plate A, and the two mirrors are perpendicular to each other. Light from the source S is incident on the glass plate A, and at the point O inside the glass plate A, a part of incident wave is reflected towards M2 and another part is transmitted towards mirror M1. So this is the point O, The incident wave is coming at point O. Here the wave splits into two. One is the transmitted wave going towards M1 mirror, and another part is the reflected wave. It goes toward mirror M2. Now, the reflected wave and the transmitted wave, after falling on the mirror M1 and M2, they get reflected from the mirrors and they travel along the same path in the backward direction and they again meet at the point O. Now at the point O, there is interference of these two waves which are coming from the mirror M1 and M2, and the interference produces interference fringes which can be observed by this telescope. Now, to have the same optical path for the reflected and the transmitted wave through the glass medium, another glass plate B of the same material and same thickness is introduced between the glass plate A and the mirror M1. Now let us try to understand this. What is the main function of this glass plate B? It is called compensating glass plate, and as it mentioned here, it is to make sure that the optical path of reflected and transmitted wave through the glass medium is same. Now suppose that this glass plate B is not present here. So in case of a transmitted wave, if it is produced at the point O, it will be moving towards mirror M1. There is no glass plate B. It will directly fall on the mirror M1, get reflected, and it will come back to the point O through the same path. It has not traveled through the glass medium. Now what happens in case of reflected wave? It is produced at point O. It travels a certain distance inside the glass plate. Means it had traveled one time inside the glass plate, comes out of this glass plate and falls on mirror M2, gets reflected, and through the same path it travels the second time through the glass medium and comes at the point O. So what is our observation? The transmitted wave has not traveled through the glass medium even once. It has not traveled through the glass medium. When, if this B, glass plate B is not present here, the transmitted wave will not travel through the glass medium. But the reflected wave, it has traveled two times through the glass medium. Now to make sure that both the waves travel a same time, same distance through the glass medium, another glass plate B of same material, same thickness is introduced between A and mirror M1. Now the transmitted wave will also travel twice through this glass medium, and reflected wave will also travel twice before reaching the point O. Now therefore this glass plate B, which makes sure that both the waves travel twice through the glass medium, it is placed between glass plate A and mirror M1, and it is called compensating glass plate. Now we will try to do some mathematics for transmitted wave. In the first case, let the velocity of earth and the apparatus which is present on the earth, both with respect to ether, be V along OM1 and traveling from left to right. This velocity V is from OM1, and see, if you see the figure, the direction OM1, it is from left to right. the relative velocity of ether will be in opposite direction from right to left. Why it is so? Because we have taken the word relative velocity. So just remember that the earth or the apparatus is moving along OM1 from left to right with velocity v. Let the velocity of the light wave be c. Now, let the distance between the mirrors M1 and M2 and the glass plate A be small d. Now, the apparatus is placed such that the velocity of the earth and the apparatus also is v along OM1, left to right. Now, hence, see here, the speed of light wave from O to M1, it will be c minus v. Why? Because the earth velocity or speed is v and the light velocity or speed is c. Both are in the same direction, and if both the velocities are in same direction, we know that the effective velocity gets decreased. So it is effective velocity of light will be c minus v along O to M1. Now the time taken by the light wave to travel from O to M1, simple relation, it is equal to distance OM1 divided by speed. In this case, it is d divided by c minus v. The light falls on the mirror M1 and now it gets reflected. It will now travel from M1 to O. Now the speed of light wave when it travels from M1 to O, it will be c plus v. Now see this particular case. In this case, the earth velocity v is from left to right and the light wave velocity after reflection from M1, it will be from right to left. They are opposite. So the effective velocity, it gets added. So the speed of light from M1 to O, it will be c plus v. And the time taken by the light wave to travel from M1 to O, we are using the relation, it is equal to distance M1O upon speed, and in this case it is d upon c plus v. So the net time taken by the light wave to travel from O to M1 and back from M1 to O, it is obtained by simply addition of these two times, this and this. So this net time comes out to be T1 is equal to d upon c minus v plus d upon c plus v, and if you make simple mathematical rearrangement, T1 comes out to be twice cd upon c square minus v square. The same equation can be written in this form. T1 is equal to twice d upon c 1 minus v square upon c square raised to the power minus 1. And we know the expansion. 1 minus x raised to the power minus 1. This is equal to 1 plus factorial 1 into x plus factorial 1 plus 1 by factorial 2 into x square and so on. Higher terms of x. If we use the same expansion here, we get T1 is equal to twice d 1 plus 1 upon factorial 1 v square upon c square plus 1 upon factorial 2 v square upon c square whole square. Then there will be a cube term and fourth power term and so on. But v upon c is a very small quantity, so its higher power can be neglected. And if you neglect and retain only these first two terms, we get T1 is equal to twice d upon c 1 plus v square upon c square. This is our equation 1. And what does it give? It gives the time taken by the transmitted wave to travel from O to M1 and back from M1 to O. Now see the case of reflected wave. It is a different story here. We have seen that the earth is moving with a velocity v along left to right along OM1, and since the apparatus is present on the earth, it is also moving. It can also be assumed to be moving with a velocity v from left to right. So the earth and the apparatus are moving with a velocity v along m1. Therefore, the reflected wave which is produced at point O, it will not be reflected from the position mirror m2. Instead, it will be reflected from the new position m2 dash. Why it is so? Because the apparatus, the earth, is moving with a velocity v along the OM1 direction from left to right. And if it is moving from left to right, the mirror which m2 which was at this position, it moves to a new position m2 dash. So the reflected wave which is produced at the point O, it will not be going in this direction. This glass plate, in that time it might have moved to the position O1, in this position, and so this light wave will travel along this direction OM2 dash. Let t be the time taken by the light for the reflected light ray to reach from point O to m2 dash. Now we know that the light travels with a speed v and it takes time t to reach m2 dash. So distance O m2 dash, it is speed into time t. So O m2 dash, this is c into t. Now in the same time, the glass plate or the apparatus which is traveling with a velocity v, in the same time that glass plate has occupied a new position at O1. So this distance O1 will be speed into time t, and this is equal to Vt. O1, it is equal to V into t. Now we get a right angle triangle O m2 dash O1, and if you use the Pythagoras theorem, we get Ct square, it is equal to Vt square plus d square, and if you make some rearrangements, you get t, the time taken by the reflected ray to reach m2 dash point mirror or m2 dash position from O, it is d upon under root of c square minus c v square, and the same time will be taken by the reflected ray to reach from m2 dash to O2. Let us see this. See, this is time t taken to reach from O to m2 dash, and same time will be taken to reach the position O2 dash of this glass plate. Because this glass plate is continuously moving, after time t it has reached here, again further time t it has reached here. So this wave it is getting to the mirror m2 dash, and after reflection it is coming back here, and this time required is same t. So therefore the time taken by the reflected ray to travel from O to m2 and back from m2 to O, the new position of O will be here O2. It will be t2. Suppose that this total time is t2, and then t2 is equal to 2 times t1. Time taken to reach from O to m2 dash and from m2 dash to O2. So it is 2 into t, and so it is, if you put the values, you get twice d upon under root of c square minus v square. Now if you make some simple rearrangement, you get t2 is equal to twice d upon c, 1 minus v square upon c square, raised to the power minus half. But we know that 1 minus x raised to the power minus half is equal to 1 plus 1 by factorial 2 into x, 1 by factorial 3 into x square and higher terms. But this quantity v upon c is very small, so the higher terms can be neglected. If you retain the first two terms, we get t2 is equal to twice d upon c, 1 plus v square upon twice c square. This is the value of t2. Now, we have found the value of time t1 taken by the transmitted wave to go from point O to mirror M1 and back from M1 to O. We have found the time t2 by the reflected wave or reflected light ray to go from O to M2 and back from M2 to O. Now the time difference between these two mutually perpendicular light rays, the reflected and the transmitted rays, in reaching the point O. Suppose that time difference is denoted by delta t. That time difference can be obtained by subtraction t1 minus t2, where what is t1? It is the time for the transmitted wave to go from O to M1 and back from M1 to O, and this is for the reflected wave. So if you put these values here and you solve this, you get that the time difference between two mutually perpendicular light rays in reaching the point O, it is given by delta t. It is equal to v square into d divided by c cube, where v square, it is the velocity of earth relative to the ether. And what is d? D is the distance between the mirrors and the glass plate. C, velocity of the light wave. Now, since there is a time difference between the reflected and the transmitted waves in reaching at the point O, there should exist a path difference between these two waves when they are reaching at the point O. And the path difference between these two mutually perpendicular waves when they are coming at the point O, suppose that this path difference is x1, it is equal to the time difference into velocity of the light. So the path difference is x1 is equal to time difference into velocity of light. If you put the values, you get it is equal to v square into d divided by c square. This is our equation 4. Equation 4 gives the path difference between two mutually perpendicular waves when they are coming at the point O. Now, this is an important part in this experiment. The whole apparatus is now rotated through 90 degrees so that the position of the mirrors M1 and M2 are interchanged. Now, in this case, the path difference between the two mutually perpendicular waves when they are coming at the same point O after 90 degrees rotation, it will be same in magnitude but with a negative or minus sign. Now suppose that this path difference after the apparatus is rotated through 90 degrees is denoted by x2, then it will be minus v square into d divided by c square. It is given by equation 5. Same mathematical treatment is involved, but directions are changed. Therefore, this minus sign is coming here. Now we are having two path difference. One, in original position of the apparatus, that is x1, it is v square into d divided by c square. Another path difference between the two waves when the apparatus is rotated through 90 degrees. It is minus v square into d divided by c square. Now the effective or the net path difference between the light rays when the the apparatus is rotated through 90 degrees. The effective path difference is denoted by delta x. It is x1 minus x2, and if you put the values, it is twice v square into d divided by c square. This is equation 6. So equation 6 gives the effective or net path difference after the apparatus is rotated through 90 degrees. Now, see the important part of this experiment. It was expected that due to the rotation of apparatus by 90 degrees, the interference fringes will shift by certain number of fringes. When you rotate the apparatus by 90 degrees, the interference pattern will shift. Suppose that it shifts by n number of fringes. Suppose the interference pattern shifts by n number of fringes. Then the fringe shift is given by the relation effective path difference is equal to n lambda, where the left hand side is effective path difference, n is the fringe shift, lambda is the wavelength of the light used. So from equation 6 and 7, the effective path difference was twice v square d upon c square, and this is equal to n lambda. So it gives me fringe shift n. It is equal to twice v square into d divided by c square into lambda. Our equation 8 gives the fringe shift. Now in 1881, this experiment was performed by taking the arm length, means the distance between glass plate and the mirrors, d is equal to 11 meters. Wavelength of light used was 5500 angstroms. Velocity of earth we have seen, it is v is equal to 30 km per second, means 3 into 10 raised to the power 4 meter per second, and speed of light was taken 3 into 10 raised to the power 8 meter per second. Now if you put these values that you obtained after calculation, the fringe shift expected after 90 degree rotation of the apparatus, it was n is equal to 0.37, approximately 0.4 of a fringe. So what does this mean? That when the apparatus was rotated through 90 degrees, the interference pattern, it should shift, and the interference fringes will shift through 0.4 of a fringe. This was expected result. The scientists Michelson and Morley expected that the fringes would shift by 0.4 fringe of a fringe. But see what happened. When the Michelson-Morley experiment was performed at different times, in different seasons and in different part of the world, no shift in the interference fringes were observed. That is, this experiment was carried out at different location, different time, different season. The fringe shift came out n is equal to 0. Fringes did not shift. So what was expected, that did not happen. And therefore, this null result of Michelson-Morley experiment is called the negative result of Michelson-Morley experiment, and this experiment is called a negative experiment. Michelson-Morley experiment is therefore regarded as one of the most important failed experiment. The null result of Michelson-Morley experiment. Why was the Michelson experiment done? To prove the existence of ether through which the light waves travel. But we obtained a null result. So this null result of Michelson-Morley experiment suggests that ether does not exist and light does not require a medium to travel. Now the explanations for this were given, and the first explanation was that in this experiment we have assumed that the earth moves relative to the earth, ether, if at all the ether exists with a velocity v. But the negative result shows that there is no relative velocity between the ether and the earth, and the conclusion was that ether does not exist, light does not require a medium to travel. More suitable explanation was given by Einstein, who says that the negative result of Michelson-Morley experiment, it occurred due to the fact that the speed of light is a universal constant and it is independent of the state of rest or motion of the source or the observer. Now, according to Einstein, we have not taken the speed of light constant. The speed of light is constant, and since we have not taken it constant, this experiment failed. Let's see how it is. Why did the mistake occur in the calculation? Because see, if earth speed is v, light speed is c, and both are moving in the same direction, their effective speed was c minus v. And when the reflected wave, this is for the transmitted wave, it is moving, it gets reflected from mirror M1 and travel back to O to the same path, the speed of light was c plus v. In this case, v and c are opposite. So the speed of light, effective speed of light has changed. We have taken this in the experiment, or we have seen that this is taken in the experiment. But according to Einstein, the speed of light is a universal constant. It remains same, and therefore the Michelson-Morley experiment showed null result. So this was the most important experiment awarded Nobel Prize for this discovery, and which proved that there is no ether like substance in the atmosphere or universe, and that light can travel even without a medium. So that's all about Michelson-Morley experiment. Have a nice day.